It's the thing your cousin can't stop talking about at family dinners. But you have to wonder, behind all the hype, all the laser-eyed profile pics, what is actually there? So today, we're going to dig into the argument that the entire crypto industry might just be the biggest, most brilliant scam of our generation.
I love this line because it just gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Crypto promises you this revolutionary, visionary tech mogul, but when you actually get up close, are you just getting a high-pressure sales pitch for something that, let's be honest, you don't really need?
So where did this all even come from? Well, the core idea has actually been floating around since the 80s, but it all kicked off for real in 2009 when the mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto mined the very first Bitcoin. And the dream? I mean, it was genuinely idealistic. Create a currency for the people, one that was totally free from government meddling and greedy banks. It was supposed to be a brand new financial frontier.
A digital middle finger to the financial system. That really was the promise. But now, years later, you have to ask, has crypto actually delivered on any of that, or did it turn into something else? Let's peel back the layers and see what we find.
All right, first up, let's tackle the biggest claim of all. Is crypto, and especially the king, Bitcoin, even a currency? I mean, think about it. After all this time, all this hype, why can't you just go and buy your morning coffee with it?
Seriously, it's been 16 years. 16! In the tech world, that's an eternity. So where is the widespread, real-world use? Forget buying a Lamborghini. What about just paying your phone bill or buying groceries? Where is it?
Well, the numbers are pretty staggering, and not in a good way. Out of 350 million businesses on the entire planet, that tiny number is the percentage that will actually take your Bitcoin. It's a rounding error. It's basically zero. And here's the kicker. Even the few places that do accept it usually convert it straight to dollars anyway. So much for a new currency.
And this analogy just sums it up perfectly. Yeah, sure, you could technically try to mow your lawn with nail clippers, but why would you? With its wild price swings, high fees, and all the fraud, using Bitcoin for daily shopping is just a painful, slow, and totally inefficient novelty.
So if it's not a useful currency, what is it? Well, according to this analysis, it's a purely speculative asset. Its price has nothing to do with what it can do. It has everything to do with hype and what the next person in line is willing to pay for it. You know, you can think of it like digital gold, I guess, but without the thousands of years of history or any real-world use.
Okay, fine. So it's not a currency, it's a speculative asset. But hey, that must mean it's a good investment, right? That's why everyone's trying to get rich off it. Well, let's see what the so-called smart money has to say about that.
Just look at this chart for a second. The risk it shows is just stomach-churning. Bitcoin's annual volatility is sitting around 60%. For comparison, the entire US stock market is about 15%. That means crypto is 4 times more volatile. In the world of finance, that's not an investment. It's a pure gamble.
And then you've got the experts. When arguably the most successful investor of all time, Warren Buffett, calls your hot new asset rat poison squared, that's probably a red flag.
And he's not alone. The head of the biggest bank in America, Jamie Dimon, he's just as brutal. He calls it a pet rock. Why? Because it just sits there. It literally does nothing.
And finally, Peter Schiff kind of brings it all home. He says once you peel back all the layers of marketing, the confusing jargon, and the non-stop hype, there's just nothing. Nothing holding it all up.
Okay, so if it's not a currency and it's a terrible investment, what's left? Well, this brings us to the most damning argument of all, that the entire crypto ecosystem is really just one giant rigged casino.
And let's not guess. Let's look at the data. CoinGecko tracked millions of these crypto coins. And what did they find? More than half of them, 52%, are now totally dead. They didn't just lose some value, they went all the way to zero. You literally have a coin flip's chance that your money will just vanish.
And you know, this is a really crucial point. When a regular company goes bankrupt, if you own stock, you might have a legal claim on its assets. There are rules, there's a process. But when a crypto coin goes to zero, you get a JPEG of its logo, maybe a vague "we're pivoting" message on Discord, and then nothing. Radio silence. You're left holding a digital ghost.
So the industry's answer to all this crazy volatility was the stablecoin. It was sold as the safe haven, the crypto version of a high-yield savings account. And the most famous or infamous of these was an algorithmic stablecoin called Terra.
On paper, the idea seemed pretty clever, that Terra's stablecoin was supposed to always be worth $1, and it had a sister token, Luna, that acted like a shock absorber.
If Terra's price ever dipped, the algorithm would just print more Luna to push it back up. In theory, it was this perfect, self-correcting system.
In practice, it was a ticking time bomb. In May of 2022, the system didn't just fail, it completely imploded. The result? $45 billion of investor money just evaporated in a single week. The scale of that loss is just hard to comprehend.
All right, so individual coins are risky, stable coins can explode, but surely the big exchanges, the places where everyone trades, they're safe, right? The grown-ups in the room? Well, let's talk about FTX. The public saw the myth. Sam Bankman-Fried, crypto's golden boy, the next Warren Buffett. The reality? FTX was a house of cards, secretly stealing customer money to gamble with.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. The man they brought in to clean up the absolute disaster at FTX was John Ray III. This is the same guy who handled the bankruptcy for Enron, and his verdict? He said that never in his entire career had he seen such a complete and utter failure of corporate controls. Worse than Enron.
So, after all the bankruptcies, the rug pulls, the spectacular collapses that we've just talked about, we arrive at the final verdict. When you strip away all the fancy tech jargon and the promises of a utopian future, you just find a very old story: greed wearing a new digital costume.
So what's actually left when you peel back the onion? Well, according to this analysis, you don't find a financial revolution. You find an asset class with no real-world utility, no actual value holding it up, and absolutely no reason to trust it. What's left is just hype cycles, pump and dumps, and a system where insiders get rich while everyday investors get wrecked.
And that leaves us with one last big question. Is crypto really the future of finance? A revolution that's going to change the world? Or is it all just a beautiful, shimmering mirage in the digital desert? One that looks incredible from a distance, but disappears into thin air the moment you actually try to reach out and touch it?